Good morning. It's November the 29th, about 15 minutes before sunrise. Yeah, it's a Monday, so that means going along the creek. And I suppose I should apologize for not doing one yesterday. Got other things were going on. I just couldn't make it work yesterday. First one I missed in a while. There will be others, but generally it'll be daily still. That was just an unusual day. And then, of course, on Saturday I did an unusual walk. I was at the Canadian Western Agribition. If you haven't checked that one out, you can do that. I was going to say that I had to take the day off to recover from cow-induced trauma, but do not actually have a fear of cows. It's been quite a warm little while. You can see the snow has dwindled somewhat. We've got a couple of more warm days, but there is currently more snow in the forecast for Thursday, so we'll see how that goes. This is a time of year when you have lots of heavy frost on your car you got to scrape, as you can see from that one. Also, you'll see that Christmas lights are increasingly showing up around here. I will do a walk sometime just to show off Christmas lights at night. As we get further along. This is Monday, so I'm going more or less along the creek. And I think I'll just go straight up Italic here and get on the dike today. Might do kind of a V8, not a V8, figure 8. I could have had a V8. I do want to do a decent length walk today. Also have to watch, with the melting and freezing, there's a bit of ice. You can see some nice color in the sky there. There was quite a lovely sunset last night as the Saskatchewan Roughriders defeated the Calgary Stampeders in overtime at Mosaic Stadium to advance to the Western Conference final game against Winnipeg in Winnipeg next weekend. Winner of that game goes to the championship game, the Grey Cup. I am speaking, of course, about the Canadian Football League. 3-down football. I played football in high school, only 1 year. I was a center. I was the center. Well, no, I wasn't the center. I didn't do the long snaps. I did the short snaps and, ran into people. I was good at running into people. We played 9-man football. Canadian football has 12 people to a side. But for smaller schools, there were 9-man leagues. And for really small schools, there was a 6-man league where, you had the line consisted of a center and 2 ends. And in the backfield, you had 2 backs to carry the ball or catch it. I don't know if the ends were eligible or not. They might have been. And the quarterback. In 9-man, you're basically missing 2 people on the line is how it worked out. Compared to 12-man. I was lucky I could play at all. I have a large, oddly shaped head, if I do say so myself. And I was just lucky that they had a helmet that would fit me. Most of them wouldn't even come close to fitting me, but for some reason, they had one giant helmet that would fit me. A lot of our material, I think a lot of our uniforms. See, I do more theater than I do sports. It's the same difference. There's costumes. Uniforms are costumes. Anyway, our uniforms, I think, or at least some of our equipment. Our colors are green and white, the same as the Rough Riders, and we had hand-me-down equipment from the Rough Riders, I was told at one point. Anyway, only played for 1 year. My brother was the athlete. The sun will come up over there, but it's not up yet. I'll have to watch out for ice up here. Trying to find the less slippery side of the walk. Maybe over here. Better. think I'll walk up the south side of the creek, but then over across 13th and then back along the creek after I get over there, I think is my plan. Creek, of course, is frozen. A little bit of above zero temperature during the day isn't going to change that when it's dipping below freezing every night, and nights last longer. Morning. See, the creek looks more frozen than the last time I walked along it. Don't think it's, probably still wouldn't want to walk on it. I don't know for sure. Might support your weight in, then again, it might not. Is that our first dog? No? Yes? No. I thought I saw a dog, but I think it's kids going to school. Oh, there's our first dog. Over there. Said you always see a dog. Busy on the bridge this morning. We are looking west towards east towards sunrise. Another dog. And looking west. Frost on the ridge, as you'd expect. Hopefully the path is pretty much cleared off here. Probably has frost on it, but it shouldn't be too slippery. And there's the ice on the creek. The sun's supposed to come up at 8:35, which is about 6 minutes from now. I thought I might get out a little faster when it was darker, but that'll happen someday. That was delayed a little bit this morning. Yes, the Agribition Walk was fairly popular. I think it had 85 views so far. The one downtown last week where I started in the Cornwall Center has over 100 views. Those are not huge numbers by YouTube standards, but they're pretty big numbers by my standards. I currently have 222 subscribers, which is more than well over double what I had. Well, actually, from when I started, it's about 4 times what I had when I started, maybe 5. So the Walking in Regina has certainly found a small, but, high quality, I'm sure, audience. That would be you. Loyal viewers like you, as they say in PBS commercials. This program's supported. It's not really supported. I don't get any money. Have to get a lot more subscribers to get any money. 1,000. Got a ways to go there. I see the creek better here when there's no leaves. It's a waterfall park over there, but of course no waterfall. Actually surprised how many people I'm seeing this morning. Weather is pretty nice by late November standards, so more people on the path than you might expect. Here comes someone on a bike. I've been on a bike on the ice. I don't like it, but didn't ask me. Possibly a student. Getting brighter and brighter over there as the sun continues to near the horizon. It's just not quite a figure 8 what I plan to do this morning. At least I can keep up a good pace since it's mostly clear. Still sore from falling 2 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago, whenever the first decent sized snow was. Still sore in a spot or two. Seeing the baseball diamonds, which will not be getting a lot of action now for the next few months, like none. And again, the creek's over there. Big house. It is a big house. About 10 minutes, so it should be about 5 minutes till sunrise. Although we won't see it right away because of trees and things. Won't see the sun right away, but it is clear, so we'll be seeing it soon. It'll stay low all day though. We're 3 weeks from the equinox? Solstice, I mean. 3 weeks from the solstice, winter solstice, so 3 weeks until winter starts. 3 weeks till the shortest day of the year. And it takes a while to notice any difference as the days start getting longer. And we still have to get through winter, which we haven't actually officially begun, despite the snow and ice. There's something called meteorological winter as opposed to astronomical. I think meteorological winter starts like December 1st, maybe? But here, typically starts earlier than that. This is a fairly average year. You'll get snow in November, but there'll be some melting still. And over time, the snow starts outpacing whatever little melting there is. And then for a couple of months, depending on the year, you might not get any melting at all. I mean, I've seen it rain back in the 80s. I remember it raining in Weyburn in December when I was out Christmas shopping. I thought that was so weird. That's 40 years ago. Now, of course, everybody would say it was climate change, but back then we just called it weather. When something unusual happened. Okay. I'm not going to cross here because I'm going to come back this way. It will be a bit of a figure 8, what I plan to do. So I'll walk over the bridge in this direction, then I'll cross Elphinstone, make my way up to 13th and over, and I'll come back along the creek from over there on the other side of the Louvain. It's the horseshoe pitch, should you be a horseshoe aficionado. That is where you would ply your trade, your game, I guess, not really a trade. Play your game, not ply your trade. Now we cross the creek again, going north. Probably slippery on the bridge, I'll be careful of that. Stone Bridge, more ice. Well, pretty close to sunrise now. Maybe it already happened actually, behind the trees. So if we come all the way down here, and look back, somewhere down there the sun is rising. Perhaps just starting to peek across the horizon behind the trees. I should get a chance to cross here, but it's hard because of the raised snow from the snow plows, so maybe I won't. Maybe I'll go on down to the... I don't know, I could definitely do it here. There should be, I always feel there should be a crosswalk here because of the sidewalk that opens up here. I guess I should have crossed back there and walked up the sidewalk. Didn't think of that. I actually thought there wasn't a sidewalk there, so live and learn. Or that it was covered in snowplow detritus. And a little public art out here. The cutout lines up with its silhouette right there. And then there's some more public art over here. Please do not climb on the art. Because it looks like it ought to be playground equipment, but it's actually art. You can see how much snow we've lost. This was all white last week. And it will be white again soon, but this week we're going to lose a bit more before it snows again. This is Neo Balkwell Civic Arts Center. They offer classes of various sorts. And the art gallery of Regina is in there, a small gallery, city-owned gallery. So far nobody has said hello. If you're there, say hi. I mean, I'll keep walking no matter what, but it's always fun if somebody says hi. Oh, there's someone. Good morning. Read that name. Sinesia. Good morning. Walking down the middle of the road because nobody's coming, and that's the kind of rebel I am. This is Les Sherman Park. I'm getting plenty warm. It was about -3 Celsius when I set out, or if you're used to Fahrenheit, that would be about 27, 26, 27 Fahrenheit. So quite warm once you start walking. Maybe not if you were standing out in your shirt sleeves, but wearing a jacket and a hat and walking quickly feels plenty warm. Supposed to go to +4 today, I think, which would be 39 Fahrenheit. This is not Wascana Park. This is Les Sherman. I walk around Wascana Lake every Friday. I mean, they all kind of connect, of course, with the pathway, but technically, this isn't part of Wascana Center. That's all over on the other side of Albert Street. I'll be back along the creek later in the walk to finish up. The last half of the walk will be along the creek. Should probably be on the sidewalk, but oh well. It looks way clearer than where I'm walking over here on the ice-covered road. This is 15th up here. There's now a stop sign for easier crossing. Sidewalk's probably pretty clear on this side, especially since this is the sunny side. Well, I could be wrong about that. Duck. I'll certainly enjoy one when I get home. A cup of coffee, that is. It'd be awkward to do it right now. I only have one hand free and I'm talking. So I've never come out with a cup of coffee. Nothing's stopping me, I guess, but it would be a little awkward. Especially if I wanted to change hands. And then I'd be stuck with the empty cup looking for a garbage. Or I'd have to carry around my empty coffee mug. So I don't think I'll do that. Unless it's really cold. Maybe on a really cold day. I do have this really great thermos, what's it called? What's the brand name? Swell, I think. Which really keeps coffee hot for a long time. Be interesting to test it out on a really cold day. See how long it keeps the coffee hot when it's like 30 below. I could see wanting... Oh, there's the sun. So we have achieved sunrise a few minutes ago. Just starting to peek through the trees over there. Guess I could wear one of those beer hats like you see at football games where you have the straws coming off the containers on the side of your head. But I look weird enough doing this without adding that. You see the sun starting to light up those buildings ahead of us as it goes higher. We'll be walking into it once I get turned around on the other side of Louvain. Now, I'm a long way from Wascana Park, per se. So, if you have a cup of coffee, I don't think I'll be able to get one. I can't reply, I can only talk. So if you're not listening or you can't hear me, hope you can hear me. No thanks, I don't need any coffee. It would be awkward. Here's the sun. Lighting up the sky. There we go. Now we found it big time. Ta-da! Sunrise. about 10 minutes past sunrise, actual sunrise, I think. We've got dramatic lighting now. I spare no expense. Speaking of not lighting, but theatrical things, did 2 shows Friday and Saturday. 2 performances of Guilty Pleasures with Regina Lyric Singers. That was a show that featured, how they call them, earworms, songs that you like even though people tell you you shouldn't, I guess, is as good a description as any. My solo was, well, I had 3 really. 1 big one and 2 little ones. I did the theme song from Mr. Ed, my name being Ed, it seemed appropriate. A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. This is your corner. Hello, wherever you are. Well, thanks for the offer of a cup of coffee, but I just think it'd be too awkward. And then, as I said, California Dreaming was my big solo. All the leaves, which seemed appropriate too. All the leaves are brown and the sky is gray, although it's not gray today, but it has been. I've been for a walk on a winter's day. What I'm doing right now. Okay, I want to cross here or the next corner, but I was kind of thinking I'd cross here. It's probably easier to go down to the corner. And then my other one was a little bit of, She Drives Me Crazy, where I falsettoed the opening lines. I can't stop the way I feel. Only I didn't miss the pitch like I just did on that last one because of walking. Everybody always gets a kick when somebody my size and with my deep voice sings falsetto. It's actually, basses usually have a stronger falsetto than tenors do. I got more comments on my falsetto bit than I did on my actual solo. And it was fun. We had pretty full houses. I don't know what the numbers were with the spacing and people around tables. It wasn't a full house if you had put in straight rows at the Hungarian Club. But certainly a good house. Standing ovations both nights. And our first live performance for 2 years. So we had to wear masks when we sang in the chorus. But we were able to take them off. Oh, here's a new one for sale if you're looking. Kind of skinny. Interesting. But we could take them off for our solos, which was cool, so people could see our faces. It's a lot harder to emote, at least visually, if you're I'm in the bike path here. It's easier to emote if people can see your faces, your face. I don't have multiple faces. One face. One face, two face. Red face, blue face. Little known Dr. Seuss. Actually makes perfect sense, that one. One face, two-faced. Red face, blue face. One person's angry, strangling the other one who has a blue face because they were two-faced. It's a fairly dark story, but it would certainly work. Okay, the path continues. This bike path we're on continues over here. It'll take us up to the corner of Louvain and 13th. I'll kind of cross over there, walk over to the Italian Club, and then back along the creek again once I get up there. I know from experience this makes about an hour walk, which is what I'm aiming for, especially since I missed yesterday. I didn't want to shortchange this morning. It's a nice little path through the trees here, which winds purely for decorative purposes, aesthetic reasons. I didn't realize when I was asked if I wanted a cup of coffee, I might actually have had one had I said yes. Apparently I walked right by. Very generous, but I do think it'd be awkward. Walkie, 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 and talkie. Hi, Roger. Missed yesterday. I hope you weren't heartbroken. Not my favorite thing to cross, Louvain, but it does have a light, and it's daylight, so should be okay. Still want to keep your wits about you. You never know when somebody will run a light or skid or something, so it's good to be extra cautious, especially in the winter time here. So that's looking up Louvain, and Agribition was right over that way where I was on Saturday. I'd be a left turn signal before I get a crosswalk light. Another reason I hate to cross here is because it takes a while. Yeah, so you went down there, you come to the exhibition grounds off to the right. Oh, he doesn't get a left turn signal. Thought he would. It's a fairly long light, but not as long as if you're going up the Louvain, which is much more traffic heavy. This was all under construction at the beginning of my walking adventures, and now it's complete. Wider sidewalk because it joins the bike path here. Which then picks up again past the next intersection. See, sunshine creeping down the buildings. One step at a time, dear Jesus. It's actually a hymn. Hi, Reco. Playground. Empty lot. Seemed like a pretty good place to build, but it's empty at the moment. So here you can see it, the sidewalk now, which is really wide here, goes back to its normal size, and the new bike path here carries on. I see a pedestrian up there, but nobody on a bicycle. Really large house. They decided that this was a good area to build. Pretty handy. It's low traffic, and yet if you want to go downtown, you just go straight down 13th, and 13th shopping areas down there. So this is actually a great little area. Plus the Louvain's right there if you want to get out of town, going up north or south or east or west. Admittedly, there's no coffee shops in the immediate vicinity to walk to, which I consider important, but at least I did when I was writing in them all the time. I haven't written in a coffee shop now for 2 years, I don't think. Did a little work in the Hotel Saskatchewan lobby bar. Might do that today, I don't know. Just to get out of the house. I got a huge editing job, which is overdue, as they always are. I always underestimate how much work one of these manuscripts will take. When I look at it cursorily, it'll seem like, oh, this one's really good, it won't need much. But when I get down on a line-by-line basis, I realize that there's a lot of editing to be done. And it's time-consuming. I think on a really good manuscript, one that's not too bad, and the one I'm working on now isn't too bad, I can do about, can I do 10 pages an hour? Or like 5. Somewhere between 5 and 10. Sometimes it's 10. Well, this is a 400-page manuscript, so you do the math. If it's 5 pages, that's 80 solid hours of work. If it's 10 pages, it's 40. And yes, I'm getting paid, but how much that works out to hourly depends on how much time the manuscript takes. And the company I do the editing for, it's anonymous editing, so nobody's watching me now thinking, oh, he's talking about my manuscript. The company doesn't, base how much you get paid on how much editing the manuscript needs. So I try to only choose those that I think I can do without really having to fix enormous problems. It's a self-publishing company I'm editing for. Yeah, these people are spending money to get their books edited and published. And unfortunately, that means some of them probably, yep, there's the curling club and the off-leash dog park, which of course has dogs in it. Yes, I presume there's dogs with those people. Maybe they just like to walk in the park. And now it's into the sun. So if I don't reply, it's because I can't see the screen well some of the time. So the creek is down there now. We're back alongside it and will be for the rest of the walk back. Almost, until I get close to home. Won't have to cross Louvain at a crosswalk now. The next one will be the bridge, which takes me under the road. Actually, the last song in Guilty Pleasures was Walking on Sunshine. So I'm walking into sunshine. Right at the end of this path, which certainly does not run north-south. Very much southeast, I mean. Yet the rising sun is right at the end of it as it continues to slip further and further south for another 3 weeks. And the days get shorter yet. I'm going to lose it behind the houses there. Creek. Lots of ice. Way back when I first went freelance, one of the reasons I thought I could do it was because I had an offer to perform with Prairie Opera on their school tour. And the show we were doing was The Snow Queen, an adaptation of it by my friend Robert Urson, who's a brilliant composer and director and accompanist. And he sang Proud Mary at Guilty Pleasures because his sister Jane was our director and he was playing in the band. Anyway, he had this great adaptation of The Snow Queen, specifically designed for Prairie Opera, which he had been part of. Prairie Opera, for many years, toured Saskatchewan in the winter, January, February, going to schools and performing. So the thing was, you'd pull into a school in the morning, they would have had information ahead of time and would have built sets. and worked up the parts that were for kids, because we'd always incorporate the kids. So we'd spend an hour working with the kids, so they knew what to do in their little bits. And then the second hour, we'd do the show in front of the whole school. It was lots of fun. Usually went over really well. And the Snow Queen, which Rob had written, was very specifically designed for that because he had done the school tour. So it worked particularly well. Anyway, long story. Also, Do It With Class, Young People's Theatre, that Rob is artistic director of, has done that, a longer version of the Snow Queen. He expanded it later. Our version was, again, specifically designed to fit into that 1 hour time frame, so it lasted about 50 minutes. There was a CBC recording of it, which I still have a copy of, which is fun to listen to sometimes. Hear younger me sing. 30 years younger me, which doesn't seem possible, but there you go. But one of the songs is the Snow Queen's anthem. That was a long way to get to that, because I was talking about ice on the creek. Ice is nice and snow is pleasing. Say hail to the Queen. I should remember it, but it has been 30 years. Haven't heard it recently. Ice is nice and snow is pleasing. Winter's fun, maybe. Although our feet are freezing, hail to the Queen. The snow doesn't matter, our teeth will chatter, hail to the Queen. There, that's part of it. My main role, I was the narrator for that, which was actually a main role. And I also played the reindeer, Rolf, and a couple other things. And I did a song called the Raven Song, which was a fast patter song. There was a raven in a castle with the king is very... Yeah. There's a raven in a castle with the king who's very wealthy, and he's got a lovely daughter who's beautiful and healthy, and he loves her very dearly, and he thinks she should be married, so he made a proclamation in a voice that really carried. Then he gave it to the raven, saying, and it sort of fizzles out after that. I know bits of it. I'd have to give it some solid thought to resurrect it, but it was fast, and it had a lot of words, and I nailed it. And the way it started fast, but then somebody else came on and said, look, we're running out of time here. We got to pick this up, and then you do it. The last part of it, like twice as fast. I posted online, but I don't really have the rights to do that, so I guess I could ask Rob if he wants it posted online. Although CBC probably owns the rights and probably get it taken down. We are under the Louvain, a little bit of unfrozen water there. There was a raven in a castle with the king who's very wealthy, and he's got a lovely daughter who's beautiful and healthy, and he loves her very dearly, and he thinks she should be married, so he made a proclamation in a voice that really carried, saying, take it to the princes of the something and the something. Valleys in the mountains are so many you can't count them. The words are in there, but they're a little jumbled, and walking and trying not to fall down and sing that at the same time just isn't going to work. Next bridge will be the Pasco Street Bridge. So we'll be along the creek the rest of the way here pretty much. There's a bit of a weir there, no water flowing over it, it's just frozen, it looks like. Sometimes I walk that way, but today I went a little further. See, the sun now is way over there. And we're only walking a little bit north of east, going this way. So it really is far to the south. As Louvain up here, Pasco goes due north, due south. We're just slightly angled to it. Somebody else on the path. It's actually been quite busy this morning on the path. I guess the fact it's melted off a bit encourages more jogging along it. I see people jogging on icy paths, and having fallen, and not being of the age when I'm going to resume jogging, that always alarms me. The idea of jogging on a slippery path. This is slippery going downhill here. There's the Pasco Street Bridge. Like they make any effort to clear it. The ice reflects almost like water when it's clear. But this is the path here, which is far from smooth and far from clear. There's the sun showing up again. I'm being very careful here. That's a mirror, so you can see when somebody's coming. I'm glad to see it's operational. It's frosted over right there, but it was graffitied over. Because yes, graffiti vandals are a problem everywhere. Don't know how you learn that behavior. Okay, back on the path. There's the creek, there's the sun. Again, that feels almost south, due south. It's not, but southeast. But it's very far south. Because we're actually going a bit northeast along this part of the path. So you can go right down and walk on the ice, but I don't know how thick it really is yet. January, wouldn't worry about it a bit if I had to walk on the ice along here. Even now. On the edges it's probably all right, but anyway, I'm not going to try it. Always interesting to watch the sun through the trees there. Aesthetic, I mean. Pleasing to the eye, somehow. The snow in the twisted trees, it looks like a fairy tale setting or maybe a horror movie. In Weyburn, it's gone now, but when I grew up there, the former Saskatchewan hospital, which was a huge mental hospital, there was one in Weyburn and one in North Battleford. Huge complex. 4 stories and a basement. Several long wings. And running up to it was this long, straight road with trees on either side, kind of arching over. The road's still there, but they tore down the hospital. And I always thought a horror movie should have been shot there. Somebody running down that long, straight road, try and get away from something. Because it seemed to go on forever. There was a little bit of a rise in it, so you kind of hid the end. Went over the railroad tracks, I think. I always thought, if I were shooting a horror movie, I would set a scene right here. Plus, the old hospital was a great place for horror movies. Could easily have shot one in there. Gloomy, some of the wings are empty. We rehearsed, Crocus City Theatre rehearsed plays in one wing. We were interrupted by a bat one night in our rehearsal that had made its way into the halls. There's like old bits of medical equipment tucked here and there. Very much the kind of thing you see in, maybe even more in a first-person horror game, exploring that hospital. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the offer of the coffee, Sneezio. Back into the sun. Briefly. There was a theatrical, like a site-specific theatrical performance of some sort done in the old hospital in Weyburn before it was torn down, obviously. That was quite a few years ago too. Hello. Sorry, trying to read it in the sun. Canini, I guess. The Q without a U. Canini. More dramatic lighting. Hello in India, AJ. Hello India from Saskatchewan, I guess I should say. So you get the long shadows and the sun. It's just a cool effect like that. Might make my thumbnail for the day, we'll see. We spent last night putting together a travel book, one of these coffee table books you can print of your own photos from our trip to Newfoundland. Long drawn out process, but it's going to be fun to have. Oh, that's pretty good too. The sun just makes everything look more interesting. I'm good. How are you, AJ? It's interesting, the camera puts that little green lens flare of the sun just to the, down and to the right of the actual sun. Noticed that before when I walk into the sun. Back across the creek. We will cross it 4 times in total today, since this sort of figure 8 shape I'm doing. My pleasure. I missed yesterday, which is very rare, but it won't happen very often. This is, I don't know, I haven't looked. I must be over 250 of these walks now in my Walking in Regina playlist, because I know it was 240 and that seems like it was a couple of weeks ago, so I'm probably over 250. And my podcast, The World Shapers, where I talk to other science fiction and fantasy authors about the creative process, is coming up to its 100th. That'll happen in December. That's not a lot in podcast terms, but I only do it every 2 weeks, so. You can see the frost on the, I don't know if the sparkle comes onto the camera or not. So there we are, looking east along the creek, more or less, southeast really. Over here you can see frost sparkling on the railing again. And down this way, you can see there is some open water there where there's a culvert. So the ice is definitely thin. That's usually where they'll put up a caution thin ice sign. If there's a culvert, the runoff, when the streets can melt even when nothing else is melting because of the sun, the runoff will cause the ice to be thin there by the culvert. Come back again, you can again see the frost on the bridge. These kind of days when it's fairly warm during the day, it's going to +4 today, so there'll be some more melting, and then it freezes at night. Always makes lots of frost because the humidity goes up quite a bit during the day. I wonder if my lenses need cleaning. There's something about that that makes me think there might be a bit of a smudge on the lenses. I should clean them every time before I walk out, since I carry the thing in my pocket most of the time. Oh yeah, I will. Sometime in December, or at least once, maybe more than once, I'll go out and do some Christmas light walks. Downtown doesn't have much in the way of decorations anymore. Here, Saskatoon has better Christmas decorations, but we have lots of great decorations right in our immediate neighborhood. And you can always go to a different neighborhood and do it. So I might do several of those, depending on weather and other things. We're going to get our Christmas tree on maybe tomorrow night. We usually get it about the 1st of December. Other people get it sooner, so sometimes we have slim pickings, but we always find something good. Oh, on actual Christmas Day and night? Yeah, I'll go out on Christmas Day. Oh, you can see Christmas decorations over there, actually. Santa with the sun behind him. Big Santa and a little Santa. Elves, snowmen, not real snowmen. We'll see real snowmen eventually. I'm sure some have been made. So the creek kind of curves away there a bit. So I walked along this side of the creek. I'm going to go across the bridge again and walk along the dike to take me homeward. It's going to be a not quite cloudless, but pretty close day. There's a little bit of cloud there, but in the west, not very much. There's a little bit back there, not much. So it's going to be mostly sunny today, which will help on the melting ice off of things front. We won't lose all the snow before it snows again if the forecast is right. Thursday, they're calling for a couple of inches of snow, possibly. Okay, this time I will cross using the crosswalk, always a safer option. Getting into the sun again, it's the ballpark. Passed here once before. This is a bit of a repeat because there's the horseshoe pitch again. But this time I'll go right on the other side of the bridge instead of left and carry on home. How long have I been out? Oh, already pushing an hour. That is a little longer than I would have anticipated. I must be still a little slower because of the occasional patch of ice. But I wanted to make this a good long one because I didn't go out yesterday. And Saturday, I was at Canadian Western Agribition, which was interesting, but it was still only about 50 minutes. And Not exactly fast walking because there were huge crowds you had to make your way through. And occasional cows. If you watch that, you'll see as I maneuver my way around cattle waiting to go in the show ring with a bunch of kids. One of the things we saw was the biggest combine I have ever seen. The swather bar attachment, whatever you call that thing at the front, swather, was as tall as I am, and I'm 6'2", so it must be 6 feet tall. And the cab was like monstrous. Honestly, the thing looked like it would do one pass over a small, like a European-sized field. 2 passes with it, one way and one the other way, and you probably have it done. It's just enormous. I can't even imagine what it costs. Probably $1 million piece of equipment. The cab was, you know, the size of our bedroom. So something else to look at if you look at that video of Agribition. See all the sparkly frost still. And the sun. Don't let the sun get in your eyes. Don't let the moon take your heart. Something like that. It's actually don't let the stars get in your eyes. Ooh, bright. Bright. It's like it's a giant ball of nuclear fusion. 93 million miles away. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what I think it is. Converting helium to energy right in front of our eyes. If only we could figure out how to do that on Earth. We're getting there, but it's always 20 years away. It has been 20 years away for as long as I've been alive. Fusion, commercial fusion reactors. Curves a little bit here, but I think I'm going to take that path down today or go up to this. No, we're going up to Garnet Street. Doesn't make any difference distance-wise. That way I fulfill my mission of walking along the creek for a little further. Yeah. A little bit of cloud over there, but it's not going to cloud over by any means. Not today. It's nicely melted off here. It has gravel, so it feels very secure. I'm taking my hat off. It's been too warm for a while. It'll cool me off a bit before I get home. Because once I go inside, I'll suddenly feel really warm from the walking. All right, well, we'll leave the creek here, so goodbye, creek. We'll go down these somewhat suspect steps carefully, very, very carefully. I'm going to switch hands so I can use the railing over here. Because the railing's covered with frost. I scooped it off of the railing as I walked along it. Okay. All right. Now I gotta wait this thing. It gets confused if I point it at something like that. It thinks I want to keep pointing at the ground. So Garnet Street, as I've often pointed out, is where I first lived when I came to this neighborhood in Let's see, I lived up in the Northwest for a couple of years. It was about 1990, I think, when I moved down here. 90 or 91, I don't remember specifically, and I've lived in this neighborhood ever since. Although now, since 97, and actually it's not quite true. For a few years we lived over on Scar Street, but my wife's family lived, so that was my house, the little one, third one in from the corner, well, fourth one in from the corner, yeah, fourth one in. The second little house, the one with the higher roof. That's where I lived when I first lived in this neighborhood. So I guess haven't always lived here. For a few years we lived in the condo over on Scar Street, which is not too far apart. But we were here all the time because the house we're in now has been in my wife's family since 1939. And her mother was living there, and then we switched places with her, and she lived in the condo, which was easier for her to navigate. So she died 10 years ago, and almost 10 years ago, not quite, 8 years ago. And then we've lived in the current house now. We moved there when Alice was in kindergarten, I think. So when she was 5, maybe. And she's 20, so about 15 years we've been living in this house. Some newer houses here. These certainly weren't here when I lived in the neighborhood. So it has actually, quite a lot of new houses have been built in this neighborhood since I lived right over here. This will take us past Henderson Terrace here. Heritage buildings, row houses, condos now. Duck. And keep your eyes open for slippery patches. What often happens on sidewalks like this is that when it melts, you get water running down onto the street, as it's designed to do. But of course it freezes on the sidewalk, and that's when you can get some of the slipperiest places of all. Certainly it happens on our sidewalk. I try to keep an eye on it and put salt on it as required. Cold enough for the snow to crunch. Again, this is a nice house. It has lights all on the front of it, you can kind of see right now. That's a new one. But I like the design. It seems appropriate to the neighborhood, if a bit oversized compared to everything else. Almost home, just around the corner, up one block. And that'll be the end of today's walk. Walk. Audio rhymes, but not pure rhymes, because they aren't spelled the same. And technically it's walk with an L in it, but the L pretty much always disappears. Walk and block, just a near rhyme. Stephen Sondheim, who sadly just died, would not have approved. He was a stickler when it came to rhymes. Done a little Sondheim, sung several of his songs. I was in a production of Company, in a production of A Little Night Music. I was going to be in a production of Sweeney Todd, but that year I got hired at Globe Theatre. And even though it wasn't much of a role, it paid. So that would have been the year I did 12th Night at Globe Theatre, I think. I think those are the only 3 actual Sondheim shows I've done. But I've sung more of his music and various things. daughter played the baker's wife in Into the Woods when duet class did it. That was fun. Okay, here we are. Thanks for walking with me. Longer walk than I thought, but that was good. I needed a longer one today, and I expect to be back tomorrow. Bye for now.